Chapter 20. The Journey. They had not travelled far through the forest before the crack of machine gun fire clattered in the distance and Henri slowed, walking around the crater in the earth where a shell had recently exploded. With each step, the forest thinned to scattered, fallen trees. Those that remained upright stood bleak and bare in the moonlight, with branches that were torn and shattered at their stems. At their feet, small ditches had been dug in the ground for men to shelter inside, some under the cover of fallen fir branches, still green with life. "This way," G.I. Joe whispered, flying low to glide alongside the stag, tentatively weaving between the trees with his ears flinching at every snap of gunfire. "We need more cover. Follow me." But as the forest thickened, the battle grew louder. "I don't like this place," Pip shuddered, hearing a low whistle hurtle above them, followed by a fearful explosion in the distance. "Nor me," Henri said, quickening to a trot. Leon and G.I. Joe also sped forward. "Let's get out of here." Gunfire crackled again, and a tree trunk beside the stag burst into splinters. "Run!" Leon squawked, urgently beating his speckled wings. "Run as fast as you can." A storm of bullets pelted the trees. Henri galloped forward, zigzagging through the trees and hurtling over fallen tree trunks in a panicked sprint through the wood, flashing white lights banging like fireworks all around them. Another whistle screamed above, and the forest exploded in a bright, thundering roar. Hurled forward by the blast, Henri's legs crumpled under him. As he landed in the undergrowth on his side with a painful skid, Pip flew from his head and somersaulted across the ground. "Henri!" Pip cried over the ringing in her ears. Shaking with terror, she collected herself and tentatively stood on her paws. "Henri, are you all right?" But no sound came from him. "Henri!" she sobbed, rushing to the stag, lying motionless against a fallen tree. With gunfire fiercely spluttering overhead, Pip tenderly stroked his soft cheek with her little paw as another whistle sounded and crashed in the distance. "Can you hear me?" Pip stared at his eyes and ears, looking for the smallest flicker of life, but the stag didn't stir. As a hollow feeling crept over her, she cast her eyes into his stomach and watched closely, desperately hoping to see it rise and fall. "Oh, Henri," Pip whimpered as she buried her face in his. "Poor Henri." A horrible, deathly silence followed before a sudden crackling of crunchy, dry leaves sounded under her paws. "I'm all right," he said, moving his head with a groan. "At least I think I am." "Oh, Henri!" she cried and hugged him harder. "Thank Whiskers you're all right." "What was that?" he said, trying to shake the explosion from his head with a rattle of his antlers. "Henri!" G.I. Joe cried, landing on the ground beside him with Leon. Together they nudged his head further off the ground with their beaks and wings. "They have a tank. One of the mental monsters. It will kill us if we don't move now. You must get up." "Come on, mon ami," Leon said. "Hurry." "You can do it," Pip said, helping the birds lift the stag's head with her paws. Clambering back up on his neck, she climbed behind his ears to the top of his head and stroked the fur between his eyes. "That's it. Up you get." Trembling with shock, the stag wobbled to a stand. "Now run!" G.I. Joe said, spreading his wings and soaring into the air with Leon by his side. "Run as fast as you can." A terrible whistling screamed in the air about them as a hot burst of light rocked the earth they had lain on just a minute before. With fear still quaking in his limbs, Henri's hooves hit the ground faster than he had ever known. Neither he nor Pip dared to look back, both too afraid the explosion would swallow them whole, and as G.I. Joe and Leon swooped alongside, they raced deeper into the forest until only the stag's galloping hooves sounded through the moonlit trees. It was some time before they slowed, finding the forest thinning around them. A great field of wheat stretched beyond, rustling in the night breeze under a blanket of stars, blinking curiously from the black sky above. "We must cross this land and continue east," Henri said, standing beside the last cover of bracken and puffing heavily in and out of his nose. The birds glided downwards, landing on opposite antlers above Pip, and the four of them stared nervously into the field ahead. "We need to reach the Fleur forest by sunrise," Leon said, "and we must travel by night. The humans see us by day. Food is scarce for them during war. They could kill us if they find us." "But won't we be seen without the shelter of the trees?" Pip said, her ears flattening at the great expanse of earth and sky beyond. "We don't have a choice," Henri said. "I smell no trees nearby." "France is rich with forests," Leon said wisely, his golden eyes glowing in the dark. "We won't be unprotected for long." "These tall wheat stems will give you some cover," G.I. Joe cooed. "We'll fly ahead and hopefully another wood won't be far away. I have flown this land before. The further east we go, the more forest we will find." Leon looked down at Pip's furrowed brow, and at once his stern eyes softened. "Travel swiftly. We will return soon." With that, the eagle and the pigeon soared into the gloom, leaving Pip and the stag to step on the open ground alone. "Let's go," Pip said, swallowing a lump in her throat. Henri nodded, gave a shudder of his tail, and stepped out into the wheat field, the crop swishing gently in the breeze. Travelling silently, ears and eyes flickering in the dark, searching for danger, Pip watched the wheat toss back and forth like waves in the balmy night air, as the forest faded into a distant silhouette far behind them. An unnatural, low rumble sounded in the shadows. "What's that?" said Pip, fearfully, turning to the noise. "It's getting louder." "I don't know," Henri said, looking behind them with alarm. He quickened his pace to a trot. "We must keep moving." "Look!" Pip gasped again. "Over there!" Two lights flickered in the distance, rapidly increasing in size as they sped through the forest. Reaching the edge of the trees, the lights raced in plain sight along the road running directly alongside the field. Crouching low, Henri and Pip watched them approach behind a veil of wheat ears. "It's a van," Pip said, sighing with relief. "I remember the sound from London." She could clearly see the shape of it, travelling past them through the darkness now. It was open at the back, and a white flag billowed from the pole attached to the bonnet. There was a dark cross printed in the flag's centre, just like the one Dickon had on his search and rescue uniform. "It looks the same as the trucks parked on the Normandy beaches." "There must be a road running through the forest. It means man is close. We must hurry away," Henri said, urgently moving into a canter. They were probably fighting the battle in the forest before. It was then that a yell rang out into the night, sending cold shivers rippling over their fur. "It's all right, Harry!" another voice shouted, and a man stood up in full view inside the rear end of the truck. He looked out into the night directly at the stag. "We're nearly there, just hang on." "That man," Pip gasped in disbelief. "It couldn't be." "Don't worry, little one," the stag said, watching the truck's red tail lights race into the distance, far away from where they had stood in the middle of the wheat field. Seeing the threat disappear, Henri puffed from his nose and then slowed to a steady walk once more. "They've gone now." "I don't believe it," Pip said, not listening to him. He sounded and looked just like Peter. "Who's Peter?" "He's the son of the umbrella shop owner where I used to live in London," she said, the words flying out of her mouth. "I thought I'd never see him again. I have to see if it's really him. Quick, Henri, follow that van." "You must be mad. Please, he won't hurt you." "I can't risk it. They could kill us both." "But I know him. He won't hurt us," she said insistently, patting his forehead with her paws. The stag gently shook his antlers and his head. "Please, you have to believe me." The clatter of wings sounded in the gloom as the eagle and the pigeon returned, swooping through the night and landing on the stag's antlers once again. "There is a small village ahead," Leon said, drawing his "There is a small village ahead," Leon said, drawing his strong, speckled wings into his sides. "Beyond it are more woods and meadows. If we continue through the night, we should reach the Fleur forest at dawn." "What's wrong, little lady?" G.I. Joe cooed, seeing Pip's whiskers twitching with agitation. "Did you see that van that just went past?" she said. The eagle and the pigeon exchanged a confused glance and nodded. "We need to follow it." "That's crazy," G.I. Joe scoffed. "We're trying to keep you and Henri away from the humans, not deliver you straight to them. It isn't safe." "That's what I said," Henri insisted. "Please, I think I know one of those men." "A mouse cannot know a man," Leon said, shaking his speckled head in disbelief. "But I do," Pip said. "We lived in the umbrella shop together. He is a good man and he's an orphan like me. He probably doesn't even know his parents are dead. They were killed at the same time as my own, 3 days ago. Please, he's my friend, please. I have to see if it's him so I can say goodbye." "Pip, I don't know," G.I. Joe cooed. "It's a huge risk." "Not if you take me on your back," she said excitedly, her mind brimming with an idea. "You can fly us there. If they see you, they wouldn't hurt one of their own messenger pigeons. We can go and quickly see if Peter is okay, then we can catch up to Leon and Henri and make our way to the Fleur forest together." "It's not a bad plan," the eagle said after a pause. "You've got guts, little lady," the pigeon said, his eyes twinkling. Leon and Henri nodded in agreement. "No doubt about that. Let's go then." "We never know unless we try, right?" he said, fluttering down from Henri's antler to the back of the stag's head. "All right, climb on." With a grin that made her whiskers pop on her cheeks, Pip hurried to G.I. Joe and clambered up his silky grey wing onto his back. "I'm ready," she said, taking a firm grip on the pigeon's neck feathers in her paws. "Hang on tight, little lady," he said, stretching his wings. "Here we go."